Hey YouTube, Casual Brews here with a Seahawks game recap. Thursday night football. Seahawks lose 26-17 to the LA Rams. Um, Obviously, I picked the Seahawks to win. Close, low scoring game. I had the low scoring part correct. But yeah, a lot to unpack here as to why they lost. Taking all day to kind of reflect on it. Uh, yeah, a lot to unpack here. Obviously, the game kind of started out okay. A couple missed opportunities, but they got on the board first with a touchdown, which when the other team starts with the ball is always good to get that early lead, knowing that you'll get that extra possession in the second half to start. Um, Defense looked good in the first half. Obviously, you could tell Stafford was a little bit hampered with that finger. He was missing guys, overthrowing. A couple guys got open that he just flat out missed. So got some breaks there. But it was another case of, I think, the defense be on the field too long. Even though the Seahawks went to halftime with the lead, they were outpossessed 2-1 in the first half. Part of that's just because of the Seahawks offense being big play oriented, whereas the Rams like to chip it down the field a little more. They ran the ball a little bit better. Yeah, just tired defense. Rams went into halftime, made adjustments. Seahawks had no counter for them, and that was the game. Obviously, the headline: Russell Wilson getting injured, but I don't even want to point to that as to why they lost, because who's to say they really would have won with him still in the game? Gino, in his limited time, he looked really good. Um, didn't expect that. I mean, we saw him very briefly last year. Didn't see this coming. You could say maybe the Rams were playing a little bit of prevent defense, but they're only leading 16-7 when Gino came in and had his 99-yard touchdown drive. So I don't know if that's legitimate or not. He didn't have a lot of time to throw. Again, which so could be Rams playing back a little bit, but he looked really good. And I think obviously Russ is going to be out probably for a few weeks. You can never count Russell Wilson out when it comes to coming back from injury, because I'm sure he's been, as much as he's been hit over the last few years, he's battled nicks and bumps and bruises almost constantly, right? And he's always been able to fight through it. So who knows? But this isn't one of those, it's not one of those kind of injuries you can kind of just suck it up and play through. Really, I mean, obviously his finger injury was a lot worse than the one Stafford had. Clearly, as you saw, it was completely. It was just like, it was not pretty. It's like, it takes a lot for something to turn my stomach. And watching them repeatedly zoom in on the finger, I was like, oh god, that's gross. So it's not like a like a sore leg or ribs or anything, even, or like a sore shoulder you can kind of fight through. You can't fight through a fractured or dislocated finger or whatever it is. He's got a tendon in his finger. Like, that's not something you can just be tough and fight through. It completely throws off your mechanics throwing the football. So Russ will probably be out a little while. I mean, season. I don't want to say season's over. Only 5 weeks into a now 17-game season, but I don't know. Whatever positive can come from this season at this point, I'll take it. It's going to be tough to battle back from 2-3 in this division and this conference. That's going to probably require 11 and 6 probably at the minimum to make a wild card, even with the extra wild card spot. But anything can happen, and I like, in limited time, Gino did look pretty impressive. Honestly, that was a great drive he led. I don't think he missed the throw the entire drive. His first incompletion, I think, came on the next possession, if I recall, when they end up getting the field goal there to get within one score. Yeah, great 3-0 after that. Got the ball back, chance to go down by 6 points, chance to take the lead with an extra point touchdown. And, of course, Lockett falls down. Kind of got tripped, but just saying, he couldn't obviously call a penalty there. Just shitty luck. Would have been a tall task anyway to probably go down the field again and score a touchdown. No timeouts. But who knows, right? We lost we didn't get the opportunity to see that because it was like the first play of the drive, I think, was the interception. So, but like I said, Gino looks competent. I mean, I don't think they'll lose some of, like, he's not as fast as Russ, so we'll lose some of that threat to escape and make plays that Russ does. But he looked more decisive. Like, again, Russ at times looked kind of gun shy. Like, I don't understand how. What did Gino throw? 3 passes to Disley in that drive, or at least in the whole time he was in there for a quarter. Russ didn't even look the tight end's way again. I don't know if it's called. I don't know if it's schemes. But when something becomes, it was an issue in Schottenheimer's offense too. They didn't use the tight ends enough. So I don't know. Is it just Russ not seeing the middle of the field like he should? I don't know. But Gino throws to Will Disley. Again, could be some prevent defense and kind of giving them those middle of the field short plays. But Disley, he's a good fucking tight end, man. Like, he can at least catching the ball. So Gino used them. Russ didn't. Hopefully Everett's back. I still don't understand how he missed a second game in a row with COVID protocol after he'd been testing negative and negative. I heard Pete in his press conference try to explain it. It was like, how the hell does this, like, just made no sense. No sense at all. The only thing I could think of is that he's unvaccinated, but I think, didn't they say their whole team is vaccinated, the Seahawks? I don't know. It just seems bizarre. You can miss 2 straight games. Like, he's been testing negative, I think, since before the Sunday game against the 49ers, so I don't know how he could still be out for this one. It makes no sense. I mean, wouldn't have made a difference per se, but I mean, to have another weapon like that with the added motivation of playing the team that, let him walk, man, I don't know, would have helped. So look at him back, and if Gino can keep using the tight ends, taking what the defense gives him, it seems like he just looked in one drive or 2 drives, whatever. It's easy to overreact, but yeah, he looked a little more decisive than Russ did. Just a little bit more decisive. I'm not saying he's better. He doesn't have the cannon arm that Russ does. He doesn't have the escapability, and Russ made another play where he got out of trouble and completed that pass to I don't know who that. I can't remember who it was too, but yeah, he had another magician play, escaping trouble. He also took a couple sacks that he shouldn't have taken. Ran like 15 yards backwards, and just he took another bad sack on second down, I think it was. So led to the 3rd and 22 run, like give up play, punt, whatever. But yeah, Gino maybe a little more decisive, and when you got weapons like Lockett, Metcalf, and then the 2 tight ends, if they use them, you got some weapons there to at least be effective offensively, and then you just got to figure the defense out. So that transitions perfectly into like the main reason why they lost this game. Yeah, again, the offense, even when Russ was playing, offense wasn't effective enough. Blown 4th and 2. I don't even need to say it because I think everyone knows how bad that play call was to run 4th and 2 right into the teeth of their defense with Aaron Donald. And then missed field goal. Again, offense didn't do enough to, if anything else, keep the defense off the field a little bit. It doesn't make sense how you can be leading going into the half 7-3. Should have been 13-3 if you kicked the field goal on 4th down. I rarely advocate kicking a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and short. But in that play, when both defenses were kind of playing well, you take the 3 points when they're right there for you. That was a chip shot. They went for it on 4th down. Terrible play call. Then obviously the missed 35-yarder. After Myers had hit 40-something straight field goals, missed last week and now missed this chip shot basically for him. Should have been 13-3 minimum going into the half, but you were still getting outpossessed 2-1. It was like 19-something to 10 minutes and something. It's impossible. So offense needs to at least somehow keep the defense off the field a little bit more. Defense just needs to play better too. At times they got some pressure, but like Pete alluded to, there wasn't enough pressure on Stafford. You're going against one of the best offensive lines, though. So I mean, can't fault them as much as I fault the secondary again. And just the game plan again, it's just the same thing. It's like watching the Minnesota loss on repeat. It's the same thing over and over and over. Soft coverages, zone schemes not working. Like, I don't know, just Ken Norton Jr. just not like, or is it Pete? Like, it makes you think it's just Pete just being stubborn. He wants to run his own defense, and so he's telling Ken Norton Jr. you got to make do with this zone defensive scheme. Is he just limiting what Ken Norton Jr. can call? or it's just Ken Norton just calling a terrible game. Continuing to put these guys in soft coverages. I mean, DJ Reed at times was playing up on guys, but it's just the scheme just gives these, and like, it's not a complex zone too. So like, I watched this video today of a Titans fan, after the Titans obviously beat Seattle, describing how the Titans use like three wide receiver sets to completely exploit the Seattle zone, and it sounded so obvious. It sounded like just basic offensive scheme. Exploiting 3 levels of the zone: shallow, medium, and then deep. And how they did it over and over and over again, because that's what it's like. It's what it looked like. And this is the same thing in the Minnesota game too. It was just the same plays, and in this LA game with Woods getting in the middle, soft part of the zone, Cooper Kupp, etc. Like, teams have, like, in these 3 losses, the teams have run the exact same offense against us 3 weeks in a row. It looks the exact same. It's the exact same spots in the middle of the field. Like, we're not really giving up a lot down the sidelines. We're not giving up. I mean, the Deshaun Jackson play was just kind of fluky. Obviously, Stafford, with his injury, really underthrew the deep ball. I think that's why Jamal Adams went to the sideline and completely misplayed it, because he just, instead of playing the ball where it was going in real time, he just diagnosed the play like, okay, it's going to go out to the sideline here. But Stafford underthrew it so badly that Deshaun Jackson completely stopped, while Adams and I think it was Sidney Jones ran just straight past them. And Deshaun Jackson just stopped in place, tied his shoes, and then caught the ball as it came to him. The corners were 5 yards down the field. But other than that, they didn't really give up much on the sidelines. Like, I think that's why I think it's just the scheme. I don't think, DJ Reed, Sidney Jones, Trey Flowers, obviously in the doghouse, but we're not, talent-wise, we're not that bad. Like, we're certainly barely, maybe even average talent-wise in the secondary, but like, they're getting hurt by the schemes. They're not being put in the position to succeed. I think you got to experiment at least running man defense for most of the game. And if that doesn't work, then at least you could say you tried it and go back to your shitty zone that's getting exploited by the most basic offensive formations. Teams put 3 receivers out there. One goes here, one goes there, one goes there. It's just like, they're wide open. They're wide open. At times today, it was a little better. Don't get me wrong. It was a little better at times today, but it's still Matthew Stafford woke up out of bed, rolled over, and he had 300 yards like that. Like, it's just unbelievable. He could have had 500 yards if he didn't miss some guys that were wide open. Obviously, finger injury affected him. But, like, it's just, the scheme is so bad. And I hate overreacting and saying, we'll fire the coach this early, but I don't know. I just want to know if it's, maybe we'll never know, which is the frustrating part. If it's Pete just kind of restricting what Ken Norton Jr. can do, and he's just not working well with what limited options he has defensively, or if he's just if he's got the reins and he's just calling a terrible scheme. I don't know. I need to know. I need to know if it's him or if it's Pete. Because whoever it is, got to change something. I don't know. Something's got to change. Yeah, the talent's not great. They've whiffed on too many draft picks over the last few years, ever since the LOB. They've just whiffed. I mean, I don't know. Like, scheme is bad. Yeah, the players, Pete's, execution's not there. Yeah, that's true. At times, execution's not there, but our talent's not this bad. We're on pace for, just like we were last year, until the defense kind of turned a corner late in the season. We're again on pace to have the worst season by any team ever defensively. We were last in rush defense coming in. The run defense looked good early in the game, and then I think they just got tired on the field too goddamn long. Got tired and then started giving up runs late in the game. And then passing, we were like 3rd or 4th last, or probably last now. The talent's not this bad. If the defense can just be average, somewhere in like the 12th to 20th in the league range, that should be enough. Just like I've said in videos, that's enough for Dallas to succeed, because their offense is so good. Our offense, the healthy Wilson, is good enough. Like, it's an upper tier. You just need you're very rarely going to have an elite offense and elite defense. If you do, like the Bucks had in the playoffs, you just kill everyone, But if the defense can just be average, which I think they have the talent to be, they have enough talent to at least be average defensively. The pass rush looks a little better than it did last year. The secondary, I like Sidney Jones. I liked him coming out of college. He had some injuries and he's kind of floated around, but I think he'll find his way into being an average corner at least. DJ Reed, I don't think he's as good as the kind of flashes he showed last year when he really came up off the scrap heap from the Niners, but he's at least an average guy. I still want to hold out some hope for Flowers, and again, feel like he's just being misused with his skill set. Being a bigger corner, he needs to be up in guys' faces, playing man, kind of like doing what Sherman did. Although Sherman could play zone, and he also could play up in guys, he could do either. But Trey Flowers needs to be up there. If he ever gets in the lineup again, really needs to be up and playing guys' faces. And then Jamal Adams. I mean, not to beat a dead horse, he's been trending on Twitter. He's been a laughing stock. Terrible. He's just, again, but he's being misused. And it's sad to say, because you think you pay a guy $70 million as a safety, he should be able to play the safety position at a high level, like a Cam Chancellor, like an Earl Thomas. He's not that big, so he should be able to play like a free safety, strong safety hybrid, or whatever's needed. But he can't cover. He can't cover anyone. It's bad. It's really bad. You paid him to be a safety, not a linebacker. Again, maybe it's a scheme. I don't know. I think the scheme is the root of the problem. But you pay a guy that much money and you invest that much capital in him with what they traded to get him, you need more. But if he's just truly not that guy who can be an every down safety, like Cam Chancellor played in the box a lot, but he could also play deep too. He could cover guys. You could cover pretty well for a strong safety anyway. You had Earl, the free safety, and you had two elite corners at most times. So you didn't have to, the safety in that defense didn't have to cover as well as this team, as a Diggs and an Adams do, because you don't have elite corners now. So the safeties are going to have to pick up some slack covering, and Diggs mostly can cover well enough. He has struggled tackling at times, but he's serviceable. He's good enough back there. But Adams just flat out awful. Again, he played. If that would have been a perfectly thrown ball by Stafford to what they were planning to do with that route, the ironic thing is it would have been incomplete because Adams was there. He was playing that deep throw to Jackson the way it was meant to be, thrown deeper, not severely underthrown. And then the corner too, I think it was Sidney Jones, was in pursuit too, was like a throw to double coverage. If that throw was thrown properly out of Matt Stafford's hands, it would have been incomplete. So in a sense, Adams played it right, but you have to also account for the way the ball actually looks in the air. You're going to have to know at that point in the game, it'd been long enough through, his fingers banged up. His throws aren't going to be coming out always that well. You have to read and react the way the play actually develops. It was severely underthrown. And instead of kind of turning around looking for the ball, he just kept running towards where he thought the ball was going to go. You can't do that as a safety, especially. You have to be a reactionary player to where the ball is. It goes to show you why he has like 2 interceptions in his 4 years in the league or 5 years in the league, whatever it is. He doesn't have good ball skills. He just does not have good ball skills. He can hit, he can tackle, he can rush the passer, which they haven't needed him to do this year because they are a little bit improved up front with Darrell Taylor especially coming in. Maybe you just... And people have already suggested this, so I'm kind of piggybacking here a little bit, but maybe you just say fuck it and play Jamal Adams every down at linebacker. Have him and Bobby Wagner play every down, and then you let maybe Marquise Blair look good today. He looked pretty good. Obviously, he was out with injury last year, so he's a new wrinkle in this defense this year. Maybe you play him every down at safety. You play Jamal Adams every down, because you still got to play him every down. I know it's, you can't bench him. Like, he's still got skill set, but it's just unfortunately not what you paid him to do, just be a safety. I don't know. I mean, you play him every down at linebacker, and then Jordan Brooks, who kind of struggled last game, he's looked good at times. You kind of rotate him in, or you rotate, if it's more of a passing down, you get maybe Ugo Amadi in there, you get Ryan Neal in there, which Ryan Neal looked good against the Niners. He hardly played in this game. Someone asked Pete in his press conference about that, and he was like, well, wouldn't have made a difference. But then after that, he said, well, since you said that, I'm going to go look at the tape and see if we could have used him. Yeah, no shit, you probably could have used him in there. So I'm sure we'll see him a little more, but I don't know. Maybe if enough people talk about it, it'll happen. We'll just get... I know he's small for a linebacker, but he hits hard, he's tough. Just fucking play Jamal Adams at linebacker. I mean, he's not that much small. I don't see. Micah Parsons is small for a defensive end, but that's what the Cowboys have been using him a lot at. you just let Jamal play linebacker, let him play up front every down, him and Bobby Wagner, and then you put Jordan Brooks in there as a third linebacker in base defense, which is becoming less and less of a thing anyways now. You rotate him in with Bobby here and there. Maybe Bobby looks a little tired at times. He's not looked the same this year. He's still elite, but he hasn't looked quite as good this year. And you rotate also maybe Amadi in nickel and Ryan Neal as well in dime or whatever. But I think let Blair be the starting strong safety. You drafted him as a safety anyways. You've tried making him your nickel corner, which has been fine. He's played well, but he's a safety at heart. Let him play safety. Diggs, again, like I said, Diggs, he leaves some to be desired sometimes, but he's still a solid starting safety. And unfortunately, Jamal Adams may just be a linebacker. Again, it's one game. Yeah, he hasn't looked good in coverage in other games too, but this game was the game where he'd been put in those. They picked on him. They picked on him more than other teams have in the past in coverage, and he's like. Whereas last year he almost was always in the box. He had no choice because you had no one to rush the passer. Otherwise, this year you do got a few more pass rushers. So Jamal Adams has been playing more, specifically in coverage, and just doesn't look good doing it. Obviously, he put himself in the position to miss a lot of reps in training camp and preseason, whatever. So he's kind of maybe still finding his feet a little bit. So I'm not going to maybe overreact as badly as some people have been, calling for him to get cut and everything. It's just been all-out warfare and on Twitter and Reddit against Jamal Adams, and rightfully so to an extent. But you got this guy locked in for however many more years, so much money, so much draft capital. It's a little early to jump ship on him, but again, just like the entire defense as a whole, just not being used properly. The scheme's terrible. I don't know if it's Pete. I don't know if it's Ken Norton Jr. Pete's the loyal guy. I don't think he's going to just go up and fire Ken Norton, but Pete did really just sound really disappointed, though, after this loss, more so than the others, right? After the first two losses, it's like, it's still early in the season. Execution wasn't there, but he really did sound like that something needed to change. So I don't know if it would be as drastic as I would want to be, which is just flat out play more man coverage. And like I said, change Jamal Adams, put him up front, get Blair in there every down at safety. But something's got to change. Like, it's been literally 3 losses that have looked exactly the same defensively. And offense not doing them many favors, too, by, like, when do you ever see a Seahawks team? Like, I don't think, I don't have the Niners game stats in front of me, but I know for sure in the other 2 losses we were badly outpossessed, and in this game we were outpossessed too. Like, when does a Seahawks team ever get so badly outpossessed? It doesn't make sense, you know? Yeah, we're kind of a boom and bust offense a little bit with the deep ball, but like these teams are like it's like 2-1 every game, 40 minutes to 20 minutes. It's just you can't win that way. You can't win that way unless you really nail a couple deep balls, touchdowns, and don't miss field goals, don't miss extra points like they have earlier. You can't win that way. So the defense, I think, owns most of the blame here, but the offense needs to do more favors too and control the clock a little more. And I think Geno maybe could do that. I think with him, you're going to run, because obviously he does not have the deep ball that Russ does. So they're going to play ball control a little more. It doesn't mean run the ball like all the time, which means take what the defense gives you. Do to other teams what they're doing to us when they're on offense. And that's get little chunk plays in the middle of the field. Use the tight ends. You got 2 really good tight ends. Hopefully, Everett's back next week. He should be. He should have been playing this game. I don't understand. But use the tight ends. Use the running backs in the passing game. DJ Dallas caught a nice ball up the sideline today. Maybe incorporate, if Carson's still out, I'm sure he will be, incorporate him in the passing game a little more. Yeah, just figure it out. Change a lot of things. You can't lose 3 games like the exact same way and then go into another game with the same game plan on both sides of the ball. It's just insanity. Like, what's the definition of that quote? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's what they're doing, especially on defense and at times on offense too. So shit's got to change. I'm not saying fire Ken Norton like other people are saying. He's an experienced guy. The players seem to really like playing for him. Just got to change the scheme. Maybe it all comes from Pete. I don't know. Older guy, just stuck in his ways. I don't know. But You can't lose 3 straight games and then go into another game and be like, this time we got them. Like, we're going to break through now, doing it the same way we've done it the last 3 losses. And really, at times in the San Francisco game, they got lucky to win that game based off of circumstances and Jimmy G getting hurt, etc., kicker missing field goals. They did a lot of that same shit in that game, too. They let guys get open. And offensively, they were kind of sputtered at times. So, yeah, really, it's been all season that this has happened. So, yeah, shit's got to change. You'd think with 2 very, very experienced coaches, they'd be able to pick up on that kind of stuff. I'm just a fan watching at home in Canada. If I can see it, you would assume the coaches can see it. If everyone on Twitter, everyone on Reddit, everyone everywhere on social media commenting on it can see it, you'd think the guys with all the experience can see it too. So, Pittsburgh coming up next. Thankfully, not like the Cardinals or someone. You can kind of maybe ease back into this thing a little bit. I hope is meek, to say the least, right now in this season, especially with Russ probably going to be missing a few weeks. But yeah, it's a long season, and I'd rather them at least, even if they don't end up making the playoffs this year, at least maybe figure things out and set a good foundation in place for next year. I don't know. Yeah, on to the Steelers. Thankfully, another team that's struggling pretty badly. Maybe a good get-right week, but a lot of shit's got to change.